Monica Klein is a founding partner at Seneca Strategy. She joins us today. Monica, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah.
I'm sure you describe yourself as pro-choice. I bet a lot of people watching right now think of themselves as pro-choice. So I'm not attacking you for that. But I wonder what you think of what Dr. Northam, the governor of Virginia, just said, that when a child, he described the child as an infant, is born, there's a point where the mother and the physician can decide whether to kill the infant or not. What do you think of that?
Look, Tucker, I understand that you want to go back to a time where Roe v. Wade was illegal, where women were having back alley abortions, and they were using coat hangers to have abortions, which is actually what's barbaric.
I'm giving you time to make a real argument. I'm not arguing for the repeal of Roe v. Wade. I'm a very straightforward person.
That is what you're essentially saying.
Actually, no, that's not what I'm arguing. And please don't be tiresome. The governor of Virginia, who's a rising star in the Democratic Party, just said this. There's pending legislation that mirrors it, and I'm asking you what you think of it. That's it. I'm not here to debate Roe v. Wade.
I think that right now, reproductive health care is under attack by the Republican Party. 72% of Americans support the right to choose, and yet we have Trump and we have sexual predator Kavanaugh trying to repeal Roe v. Wade and trying to take away our control over our own bodies. This isn't about babies. This isn't about health care. This is about you attempting to control women's bodies.
Okay, please don't be a robot. Monica, you're smarter than that. This is the governor of Virginia just saying this. I just want to know what you think of it. Is that okay? Does that bother you? It's a sincere question. This just happened.
Okay, it bothers me that you are attempting to control women's bodies.
That's what you're doing. You are.
The Republican Party right now is working overtime to repeal Roe v. Wade and to take away choice in every single state.
I wonder if you think you're convincing anybody, or if your unwillingness to address what just happened today on tape that we just played is a sign that you can't defend this. And if you can't defend it, I wonder why that is. Have you paused to ask yourself, as an American, as a person, what do I, as a woman, what do I think of that?
As a woman, what do I think of it? Have you asked yourself why you spend so much time talking about this rather than thinking about why your party is trying to repeal Roe v. Wade and control women's bodies? Right now, there are 7 states where there's only 1 abortion clinic, There are 4 states with trigger bans where we would, if Roe v. Wade is repealed, women cannot get reproductive health care. This is about a woman's right to choose, and you, as a man, should not have a single say in that.
Wow. Do you think that you're making a case that most people agree with, that it's okay to abort a child in the 3rd trimester?
Tucker, you can keep trying to put words in my mouth and keep trying to say that the Democratic Party is hurting children. But your party is the one that is tearing families apart at the border and allowing children to die in federal custody. So whose party is actually harming children?
Wow. Let me just ask you one quick question. I mean, this is obviously a pointless conversation, and I think less of you after, I have to say. But it's an honest question. Have you thought about it? Do you have a real answer to what the governor of Virginia said, or are you going to throw yet another talking point at me? I mean, have you actually thought about it? Will you answer that question at all?
I have thought about it, and I am telling you that your party is attempting to change the conversation about Roe v. Wade and take control of women's bodies. I'm sorry that as a man, what you're focused on is controlling women's bodies, but we will not allow you to do that.
This is a child who's been born. This is not a woman's body. This is an independent person.
It just confuses me why you pretend that you have concerns over children when you're completely fine with ICE tearing families apart and children dying in federal custody.
Monica, thank you. I appreciate it.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I love that old PSA back in the 70s. Well, this is liberalism. This is your country on liberalism. Well, kind of has the same effect, fries it all up. I don't think that the left, though, realizes what sort of an impact their insane policies are having on the real middle-class working Americans. People who don't want any special recognition. They just want to get up in the morning, go to work, make a decent living, and get home, maybe crack open a beer. All right? Well, take, for instance, Portland, Maine. It's pretty far from the border, so they shouldn't be impacted, right, by the illegal immigration crisis. Well, wrong. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the city is being overrun by asylum seekers to the point where they're taking up 90% of Portland's family shelters. And city assistance for them is drying up. In fact, 75% of all population growth they saw between 2011 and 2016 was from foreign-born individuals. This is wild. For anyone spent any time up in Portland, and it's cold up there tonight, that is wild. Okay, former governor of Maine, Paul LePage, warned about this years ago, and he was called every nasty name under the sun. As a result, all the usuals, racist, xenophobic, blah, blah, blah. Well, he joins me now. Governor, how does this influx of asylum seekers? Now, there's some from Central America. There are also refugees from Africa. It's a different, different status. But how does this affect everyday citizens, as I like to call them, the maniacs in Portland?
Well, Laura, what it really does, it takes away from the disabled, the elderly, people with intellectual disabilities. They're pushed aside. They're put on waiting lists, and the money goes to asylum seekers and undocumented citizens that come to, people that come to the state of Maine. And that's been going on for years. When I was governor, we had litigation against the city of Portland for that exact reason. When the economy started getting better, I removed all the wait lists. There was 4,200 people on the wait lists. We budgeted for it, totally balanced budget, paid for it. The Democrats came in, took the money, and put the people back on a wait list, and they're still there now on a wait list. People who have lived their lives in Maine are now without services in their aging years or with their disabilities, and particularly the one that is the most upsetting is intellectual disabilities have gone by the wayside.
Okay, so those are mental health issues and so forth. A lot of people who, after the Great Recession in 2008, they still haven't gotten a leg up, even with the improved economy. And Maine has always, had some struggles in that area, obviously. I want to play something from you, this was back in a town hall you did in 2018, and the reaction from the crowd. Let's watch. 2016, sorry.
Illegals, or I call asylum seekers, are the biggest problem in our state.
Shame on you!
Now.
In your country! All they want is help.
Shame on you, they were screaming.
Oh, I recall. I think the Speaker of the House was there that evening.
Yeah, well, what are they saying now? I mean, look at this. I mean, we have a situation, according to the statistics today. In Portland, 65 to 70% of 1,000 people now receiving general assistance are non-citizens. Everyone hear that? 65 to 70% of the people receiving government assistance are non-citizens. Another, the city budgets of about $200,000 annually to fill in gaps for asylum seekers who don't qualify for general assistance, such as those who haven't yet filed an application. So you haven't filed, and they're reaching out to give you money in Portland. This is the Democrat Party, though. This is a state that is now with Democrat control. Democrat, right, is a state legislature.
That's correct.
Still run by Democrats.
And the governor and the incumbent governor invited them and said that when she's governor-elect, she said, "I will invite asylum seekers to come to Maine, and I will give them services." And, well, if you invite, they will come.
When I think of all these other cities that are considering more generous policies toward both asylum seekers, refugees, again, a different story, what do you say to them, given Maine's own experience?
I would say that if you have the resources and you feel compassionate for these folks, go ahead and do it. But if you're going to be taking resources, very, very important resources for your citizens, then you are making a big mistake.
Well, again, 90% of the people living in Portland's city-run family shelter and overflow shelter are people who are asylum seekers, overwhelmingly, I guess, still from Africa, correct?
That is correct, from Africa. And you know, one thing that
I don't get the Africa. I don't get the Somalis all went to Minnesota, and then they went to Maine. The two climates, by the way, I don't get that at all. I don't get how that's the place where everybody go. Well, what is that?
I don't know, but I will say this. The one thing that nobody's talking about right now, they're talking about the resources being eaten up by temporary housing. I'll tell you, when they get into housing, you should see the disgraceful housing that these people are being put into in the city of Portland. I visited this housing. It was housing that I was brought up in, which gives me nightmares. Okay, my whole entire life. It's terrible.
Well, Governor, you're seeing a total transformation of New England cities. In New England, Lawrence, Massachusetts, another one. And this is happening all across New England, but Portland brought it on itself, and people are going to have to pick up the pieces. Governor, thank you so much.